I want to start off by asking you a question. So wherever you're listening right now, I want you to just lean in, lock in with me here. How many of you What's up, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Now What podcast. I am your host, Sierra Stout, and man, I'm so glad you're here. I honestly cannot believe that I'm doing this. This has been on my heart for quite some time now, and about a year in the making, and breaking off a lot of fear of man to press record and put this out here. I'm just grateful to be here and to be doing this, because this podcast was started because I wanted to create space for something that I wish I would have had. And I know there's a lot of podcasts out there nowadays and a lot to choose from. And I feel like whenever somebody has something to talk about now, they're like, let's go create a podcast. Although I love and respect that, that's not really what this is for me. It feels way more like a calling on my life to move forward and to give room for things that I think need to be talked about. And so if you're asking by this point, well, what is the Now What podcast, Sierra? Well, we're going to dive right into it. I want to start off by asking you a question. So wherever you're listening right now, I want you to just lean in, lock in with me here. How many of you grew up playing a sport? Maybe you played in high school and you wanted to go play in college and you didn't get the chance to, and it eventually came to an end. Or maybe you did get to go play in college and 4 years went by and it came to an end. Or maybe you're in the even smaller percentile of people and you played professionally and then one day it came to an end. If that's you, well, you're in the right place, because I remember playing in my very last collegiate golf tournament, and I didn't know it was my last at the time. But when I did find out that it was, I woke up the next morning and the very first question that came to my mind was, now what? Now what do I do? Who am I? How do I fill my days? How do I train? How do I eat? How do I find community outside of a team? Right? All these questions began flooding my mind, and I was like, what is happening? It was like a total identity crisis. And I sat there and realized for a couple months that nobody's talking about this. I had nowhere to go, like nobody to turn to process the things that I was feeling. I honestly felt crazy, if I'm being honest. I was like, it's just a sport. Like, get it together, woman. And you're not crazy, though. I share all of this to say that if you can relate to this to any extent, well, you're not alone, right? I see you. This is not about me. This is about you. And so this podcast is not just a podcast. It is a community. I wanted to create space for people to come in and to grieve and to heal and to grow and to connect, right? I think this season past sports can often feel isolating. And when you've identified yourself with this sport for so long and then it's taken from you and it's gone, there's a lot of rebuilding that needs to happen. And without people talking about it, you can feel like you're going crazy. So here's just a quick 3 things that I want you to hear, right? From this first episode, this is what I want you to take in, all right? Little affirmation, validation moment. Number 1, you are not crazy for missing your sport, all right? You're not crazy. That's totally normal, totally valid. And maybe you're not missing it. That's also okay too, and very normal and common. It might be a way that your body is grieving and shutting down what's hard to lose. And maybe you didn't have a very good experience and that's why and how it came to an end. But that's all normal too. But you're not crazy, right? You're not crazy for missing your sport or maybe not missing it. Number 2, you're not broken for grieving. Grieving is a normal part of our human nature, and if you're not doing it, honestly, that's a lot more harmful than if you are doing it. So if you're not dealing with it now, I know my mom always likes to tell me, if you don't deal with your pain now, eventually your pain's going to deal with you. So you're not broken for grieving. And number 3, you are not alone. This space is going to show you how many people are actually out there feeling the exact same feelings that you're feeling. I'm one to attest. I'm feeling the same things that you are. So if that gives you any room to just take a deep breath, then I'm thankful, because I really wish that I had somewhere to go and that I had somebody preparing me for what that would be like when things came to an end. You know, I think growing up and when we're playing our sport to whatever capacity that you did. And I don't even need to know what sport you played because this is a universal feeling regardless of where or how you played. But it's one of those things where we know it's going to come to an end eventually. Like we know that we're not going to go play our sport for forever, right? Like you might recreationally depending on what sport you're playing, but you're not going to be competitive to that extent for so long, right? We know that it's coming to an end, but you can't really prepare for that, you know? Like you can tell somebody about it, but until you're actually living it and feeling it, it's hard to lean in. I mean, I remember having some people, shed light on it to me of like, oh yeah, the identity crisis, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yeah. Like I'm in the here and now though, so I'm not going to worry about that. But when it came and when it happened, I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Like, this sucks. This is so hard, And as somebody who grew up in their faith, I would have told you till I was blue in the face that my identity is not in my sport. Absolutely not. My identity is in the Lord. And well, I was lying to you and I was lying to myself. I didn't know it at the time though, so no shame on that, but it really took me being removed from that season, removed from my sport to realize how much my identity was involved with it. It's like I would see myself in the mirror and I remember thinking, Sierra the golfer, your identity and value comes from your achievement. Your identity and value comes from your teammates. Your identity and value comes from how your coach sees you, blah, 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 blah. And I was so wrapped up in that. And that's all that I cared about. That's all that mattered. And yeah, oh, my identity's not in my sport. Well, absolutely it was. And so when you're on the flip side of it and you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you have no idea who you are. You don't know where your value is. You don't know where your worth is coming from. It's this shattering, and it really feels like a rebuilding, but it's not. And if you're having a hard time seeing that right now, been there, there's a real fog that happens as you're processing through this transition time, but it's just learning yourself in a new way. It's learning to become best friends with yourself. I felt like I was taking myself to coffee and I was getting to know who I was. I wanted to know what made me excited in the morning to wake up and get out of bed. I wanted to know what gave me that drive. I wanted to know what made me sad. I wanted to know what brought me joy. And it took some time. And although that was really hard, it was also really beautiful because I feel like even in that season, my self-awareness grew of who I am, who I wanted to be, and my main purpose in life. And I'm not discrediting all the work and time and hours and sacrifices and people that I impacted or maybe didn't impact during my time in playing my sport. But who I am now and moving forward is way more important than any of that stuff. And I still have moments and days where I struggle with it. And I remember right when I graduated and I started working, I was sitting in my office and I was like, this is nuts. Like nobody here knows about my past with my sport, right? Like I was not Sierra the golfer to them. I was just Sierra, and they got to know me for who I was. And it was really beautiful. It kind of bothered me at times because I was like, well, they don't know how competitive I am. They don't know how blessed and like gifted I was at my sport and my accolades and all the things. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. So again, if you're walking through that season, I see you. And this podcast is not about me. This podcast is about you. This podcast is, again, to create a space and community for people to heal, to grieve, to connect, to be seen and loved, and just find who they really are, right? So we're going to be talking about so many different topics, such as identity, purpose, mental health, food, training, you name it, we're going to talk about it. Speaking of you name it, I want you guys to leave a comment. Leave comments about topics and things that you want us to touch on in future episodes because we're going to be skimming through them and using them to package out what we're going to talk about moving forward. And if you're uncomfortable with leaving a comment, whether that's on YouTube, I want you guys to hop on over to our Instagram. I'm going to link it down in the show description, but give us a follow on there and send us a DM. Ask us questions, or honestly, I would love more than anything to hear your story, to hear your testimony of things that you walked through and what you're maybe processing and dealing with now, because you never know who your testimony might impact. So we're going to be skimming through them, and I cannot wait to meet you all and get a chance to just get to know you. And again, just create a space to feel seen and known and loved. So I'm going to keep this podcast short, considering it's the first episode and I'm just giving context to what this podcast is even going to be about. But thank you so much for being here. And if you know any other teammates that would maybe find value in this, send it to them. Share this out. Maybe if you're a mom or dad and you have a kid who played and man, I didn't realize maybe they're struggling still. They might be, and it might not be to a super extreme extent, but send it to them. Share this with as many people that you know that it may help impact or bless that they're walking through this season. And although this podcast is for the former athlete, we all know that we're athletes deep down, and that's never going to be taken from us. But it's just finding out who we are moving forward. And that's what's going to be really beautiful about this. So thank you for being here. Please, please, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with friends and family or loved ones that you know would find value in listening to this, and also follow or subscribe. This will help the content be pushed out more so that other people like you and I get to listen in and hopefully find some healing and to learn how to grieve through something that nobody really prepared us for. Again, just super grateful that you're here. I am just ecstatic that I'm finally starting this podcast and it's out. So thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next episode of the Now What podcast.